Hello everyone. I wrote a book. Hold on, I actually have it. Or, I guess I'm still writing it. I haven't published it yet. I'm in the process of writing this book against all odds. I feel hesitant sharing the title because I'm like, what if a publisher makes me change it in the future or I decide to change it? But right now my book is titled Against All Odds, and I want to document the process of getting it published because that's what I want to do. I want to publish, not me, I want to have my book published and I want to document it. It's silly, but I know that I will look back at this when this is published, if it gets published, and be super happy that I decided to document this journey. So, yeah, this is also, it's so weird. It's so weird. Record scratch. Let's take a moment to explain my book. So the book I wrote is a dystopian science fiction romance young adult novel. I love it. I'm gonna read you the synopsis real quick. I have it all written out here. In a future world ravaged by environmental disaster where society is divided into 6 tiers, Earth teeters on the brink of collapse. The privileged tiers prepare to escape to a promising new planet, Peridium, leaving the less fortunate behind. Amongst the privileged, Lenya Hale, a resident of the esteemed Platinum tier, hesitates on the brink of departure. Meanwhile, Damien Barnes, a Copper tier resident, is left with no choice but to stay on the dying planet. In this fading world, whispers of a singular refuge echo an underground bunker nestled in the heart of Washington. Both Lenya and Damien urgently require a map to find the location of the bunker and a key to secure entry. Fate intercedes when Damien manages to find the map, while Lenya is in possession of the key. In a twist of fate, they form an unlikely alliance, embarking on the perilous journey towards the fabled bunker. Despite the chasm of their social classes, Lenya and Damien must set aside their differences to confront the dangers the dying planet throws at them. From the toxic waters of irradiated wastelands to ruthless survivors who would stop at nothing to get into the bunker. Oh my gosh. Dangers lurk at every turn. In a race against time, they must put their social tiers behind them, striving to reach the bunker before its doors seal shut, or the unforgiving planet claims them as its next victims. That is my book. I feel so giddy reading that. That's my book. Since I want to document, I guess I skipped a lot. My book is in my hand. I've written the entire thing. I printed it out so that I could read through and make a bunch of notes in it, and then I implemented all my notes, and currently my book is in the hands of 4 people who are beta reading my book, and I just want to talk a little bit about the beta reading process because that's where I am right now. That's the experience that I'm experiencing, and I have a lot of thoughts. So many thoughts that I want to talk about. So first, let's talk about someone who has already read my book. They've already given me all their feedback. I had this wonderful woman read it, and oh my gosh, I have to document this. She left me the sweetest note in her final email where she was like, I'm all done reading it. She left me the cutest note, and I have to read it to you, to me when I watch this again. So after she finished reading my entire book, she wrote this in an email. She wrote, "You have an excellent story here. It is my most engaging beta read so far. Good luck with wherever you are going with this. It's a winner." Instant tears. I was crying. Being told that my book's a winner and that it was our favorite was ego boosting, and also incredibly soothing of my, what do you call that? I almost said academic probation, but it's not. It's imposter syndrome. I should not be so happy saying that. But that comment that she left me just totally was soothing to my imposter syndrome because I'm not a writer. I don't have a published book yet. I'm not an author, you know. I just have a bunch of words strung together with duct tape. Not even. It's Dollar Tree tape. Anyway, that was really, really fun to hear her thoughts on my book. She left some really good criticisms where I made some changes. She pointed out some areas where I could use better language, or I could make a change for the better, and that was really nice to read, because something I'm struggling with right now is finding out where my book really is. Because as an author who has been staring at this book for it's been over 4 years since I've been like scheming this idea. Anyway, I've been looking at this idea, I've been playing with it, I've been writing for over 4 years, and I have 2 thoughts about it. Like 2 thoughts, and that's it. I have the thought where like, this is the best book in the world. How could anyone not love my book? My book is the best. It'll be straight to the New York Best Times seller. I don't know if I said that right. But it'll be straight there. It is gold. And then I have the thought on the other side that my book is terrible. No one wants to read it. It's trash. It's held together by Dollar Tree duct tape. And so I have 2 very different feelings about my book right now. And so what I'm hoping with these beta readers that I have reading my book is that I will be able to get a feel for where we're at, big areas of struggle in my book. Like, are you bored? Are you stopping reading? Is anything confusing? Because my book is I didn't even explain my book. Whoops. My book is a dystopian sci-fi book where it's a completely different society. It's the US, but it's been overhauled by a chancellor and his family. And so I need to know from my beta readers if things are confusing, if I need to add more detail or take away detail. And so I'm hoping to get lots of helpful information from them. But here's where I want to chat. By the way, I have no thoughts for this if you can't tell. This is just a constant stream from my mouth. Anyway, I have run into the issue where I'm hating what my beta readers are saying. I feel so bad because the 4 people I have reading it right now, or have finished reading it, they are reading it for free. I found them in a Facebook beta reading group. I'm in a couple of them, and they have offered to read my book for free, which is super incredible, and I feel very lucky. However, I also don't like what they're saying, and I'm trying to like figure out if it's the part of me that's like, your book is amazing, there's nothing wrong with it, or if they generally just don't understand things. Let's talk about it. Let's just jump right into it. I have one beta reader who is giving me thoughts that make me believe this beta reader does not comprehend English or reading at all. Let me pull it up. So this beta reader is reading on Google Docs. They're leaving me comments as they're reading, and so I'm just sitting there one day, this weekend actually, and a comment pops up, and it was confusing to me. Basically, he was like, I was wondering why she didn't want to leave. Now I see she's 7, and I can't relate. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, 7? My character's not 7. And so I go into the area where he thinks that she's 7, and it's the part where I'm basically making a connection to how when she was 7 she learned about outer space, and she's terrified of outer space, and how she looks in the mirror and she sees her 7-year-old self staring back at her, and he thought that meant she's 7, and I was like, oh shoot, are people gonna think she's 7? And so I did make a change there. I listened to his advice there, and I made sure that to add in like, which was 10 years ago, so that you know that she's 17 now. So that was one area where a beta reader really came in handy. However, this beta reader ignored me when I said that my book was dual point of view, from both Lenya and Damien's point of view. And so they're reading chapter 2, which is told from Damien's point of view. And they get to a part and they say, where did she get a backpack? She was wearing a spacesuit. And for some reason, it doesn't go with a backpack for me. And so I got this comment and I was like, he doesn't. He doesn't think that they're the same people. Because they experience the same thing in the first chapter from two very different parts in the same city. So I was like, how does this beta reader think that they are the same person? Doesn't make sense to me how he could think that, especially when I explicitly told him, like, hey, this is dual point of view. This is told from two different perspectives. So, like, when I'm getting feedback from these beta readers, it's really hard to determine where the information is helpful. Like, oh, I didn't mention that she was 17, so maybe you would think that she's 7. Or this thing where he just, and I explained to him, like, oh, well, I don't think I mentioned, or maybe you forgot I mentioned that this is dual point of view. And he was like, oh, I ignored the little names. I ignored where it says chapter 2 day. He ignored that, and so I was like, oh shoot, is that not enough? Is this person just not comprehending? What is the issue there? It's now a moot point because I ended up changing my second chapter for a different reason. But I was sitting there like, am I a terrible writer? Is he just not understanding? So there's a lot of things where I'm like, are you just not getting it? And so, like, I explained to him, hey, it's dual point of view, and this made me so mad. When I explained to him that it was in dual point of view, he was like, I ignored that. I ignored the part where it says day underneath the chapter title. And then he also said, if you communicated anything outside the book, it doesn't exist. The blurb doesn't exist. Any promotional materials don't exist. There's only one book. It's like that stupid thing with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. No one should care what happened in WandaVision. If it's not in the movie, it's not in the movie. And I think that's a moment where I realized I think I have the wrong beta reader. First of all, Doctor Strange is a sequel. You have to know what happens in the first movie to know what happens in the second movie. Second, it's the MCU, it's the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and going into a Marvel movie, if you have not watched the other movies, if you have not watched the shows, you're going to be lost. That's what it is. And so I was, as an avid Marvel fan, I was like, maybe you're not the beta reader for me. But he's right in some ways, and if I say on TikTok, hey, my book is a dual point of view book, now everyone's going to watch that, and they might pick it up in a Barnes & Noble, not seeing that thing. But, so it's like, I'm at war with myself here. I hate his analogy, because it hurts my heart as an MCU fan to hear that. But I also understand that I need to make it really aware, which, like I said, I did end up fixing. And I ended up keeping him as a beta reader. He's maybe a quarter of the way through my book right now, and he's still commenting, and some of it is I'm getting more of that, do you know how to comprehend English writing? Which he's American, and he's an English speaker native, so it's really boggling my mind. But then I have to remember that, like, some readers are out there are like that, and they don't comprehend everything. And so I'm really at war with myself, where I'm like, is it just this one person reading my book, or will it be more people like this person reading my book? Do I need to edit for everything that he's saying so that other people can understand? It's a really hard process to go through, beta reading, because, well, one, it's really, why do I feel like I'm gonna cry? Hold on. I really feel like I'm gonna cry. And I mean, I know why. It's really, having someone read my book is like having someone read the thoughts in my head and my heart. And so it's really hard to put my book out there specifically for critique. I want these beta readers to critique my book. And so hearing someone not understand what I'm trying to say is so disheartening. And then trying to figure out if it's just this one reader or if it's going to be every reader and I need to make a change. It's so difficult and I'm really struggling with it. And then moving on to a different beta reader I have. This one, she was very, very extensive. It was very interesting. I have very little experience with beta readers in general. So this experience, I'm not sure if it's normal or typical. It's just what it is to me. But I found her on a beta reading Facebook group, and she posted, I'm looking for some books to beta read. Tell me this, and this about your book. Give me the log line, and then I'll ask if I like it. I'll read the first three chapters, and if I like that, we'll talk about beta reading. And we got to the part where we're talking about beta reading. She sends me a huge email, and it's like, tell me everything about this book and the communication process, when you would like to receive updates, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, I am very critical because I feel like it is good for you to actually see what's wrong with your book. And while I agree, I am also feel like crying when I read her thoughts on my book. There was one, my heart really is broken, because this book and these characters, I know these characters. I know what drives them. I know why they make the choices that they make. I know the ins and outs of their mind. And so I really want my readers to know my characters' ins and outs. And I want them to understand them. And it breaks my heart seeing that this person doesn't understand one of my characters. So Day, he comes from the lower tiers. He's very, very distrusting of someone from the higher tiers, which Lenya is. And so the whole time he's at war with himself, like, she is a platinum. They have everything and more, and I grew up with nothing, and he resents her for what her class represents, basically. In that deal they strike to form an unlikely alliance, they effectively use each other. And it's mutual using because they can't survive without each other. And so I wrote a little bit that says, grasping at anything to keep her dependent on me. Because if Damien doesn't have anything over Lenya, she's going to leave him and he won't have a way to get into the bunker. And so I wrote that because if this one person is the only way for your survival, you're going to want to have something over them. And she wrote in comment, this line screams manipulative, narcissistic, horrible person to me. At this point, I'm kind of rooting for Day to be killed somewhere in the storyline. The way he acts, talks, and treats others is bothersome to read and quite annoying. I feel like crying reading it now, and I definitely felt like crying reading it when it popped up on my screen. Because this is my little baby. This is the character I created, and he's got so much depth to him from what I can tell because I created him. And so seeing someone not understand his motives and stuff really, really, it breaks my heart. But then it also makes me think that I'm a terrible writer. Like, did she not see that he's really struggling to trust her, or that he has to have something to hold over her in order for the trust to work? Because she's not going to keep him around if his thing he's holding over her is gone. And so having beta readers is really difficult. Part of me definitely thought I was going to go in and they were going to be like, oh, well, you have a misspelling here, or, oh, can you just make a clarification here? And instead I get someone telling me that they wish one of my main characters would die. This is hard. This is really, really hard to do, but I know that if I want to get published, I need to go through this process. And once I get published, there are going to be other readers who hate my characters. and hate my book. And so I guess it's a really big learning curve to deal with. So I guess that's where I am in my writing process right now. I'm having beta readers read my books. One has read my book, 2 are currently commenting, and 1 is reading it where I can't see the comments to accommodate her vision. And so, like, eyesight vision. And so that's where I am. My current projection is that these beta readers will finish within the month as we agreed on. And then I have a beta reader I have my eye on who I'm actually going to pay, and she's going to read it. And then I'm going to make all these changes. And then I hope to start querying for an agent by January. So that's where I'm hoping. I'll keep you updated as beta readers start to give me feedback, and even as I start implementing the feedback. I think it'd be nice to bring you on that process. I've got a lot to learn about showing versus telling. I don't really understand it, I'm gonna be honest, so I might make a video about that. This might be my only video about my book process because I'm flaky sometimes. So thank you for joining me as I just talked about random thoughts about my book. Yeah, thanks for being here with me. I'll catch you on the flip side.